Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you how I price up some of my jewellery. So let's get to it. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how I will price up this buckle bracelet I've been working on. I would price up this original one, but I kind of want to keep that one for me. So benefits of being a maker, I can do that. So yes, I'm going to show you how I price up a piece of jewellery. I just need to get a few things out of the way to the beginning of this video. Firstly, probably going to be a little bit confusing. Plus I'm going to be doing a lot of it on my computer, and you'll see the spreadsheet I use, and hopefully you can keep up with that. I'll try and explain it as good as possible. Also got to remember that each of these are unique. Like, it'd be a lot different, for instance, with my sort of flame-inspired earrings, because a lot of that was like the actual cutting out the pieces for outsourced, and there's basically those, they're more like a production thing, whereas these are very much one-offs, and so these are going to be a much more expensive piece than, say, something where you can make a lot in one go, and I'll also go through that in the video. Also working with much greater amounts of precious metals, so sterling silver. It's still a precious metal, so it's still going to cost a bit more than the earrings, which were mainly acrylic and leather. And time, guys, I'm going to show you the amount of time that goes into a piece and all that. So without further ado, I hope I didn't scare you off, and let's jump onto the computer and I can show you how much this piece will cost. Onto the computer and the spreadsheet to try and explain the price of, or try to explain a bit more thoroughly how I get to a price of a piece. So on the left over here, it's basically the base hourly wage of what I want to earn. So I say £10 because that is actually, believe it or not, quite cheap. This isn't actually that much. A lot of people charge a lot more than that. And then this all equals in the tools I have at the moment, how long I expect them to last, the outgoings, then gives you the yearly total, and then how much that is per day, and then how much that is per hour, depending if I work an average day's work every day, etc. So it equals out that my hourly wage is actually just over £12.50, and so you've got to keep that in mind as well. I know that sounds like a lot, but like I say, that does add in the price of my tools, etc, etc, the wear and tear, the consumables I have to use, like sandpaper, things like that, knife blades, etc, etc. So hopefully you understand that one. I can also show you later. I'll also put a note up here. Let's put show living wage. So I'll do this after I've worked out the price of my buckle. So the silver for my buckle costs around about £6.06, and the leather it's really cheap, the leather, because I bought a whole hide for it wasn't too cheap, but because I'm using so little, I worked out that it should probably cost about 50p for the leather. So my material cost is £6.56, as you can see here. Hopefully £6.56 for the materials for that one buckle. Keep that in mind, that one buckle. Now the design time here, I'm going to leave blank because, for instance, if you watch my last few videos, you know I've been working at this for quite a while, and so I've probably put at least 10 hours design time in. And do you remember my hourly wage? Yeah, so just for designing time it would be 125, so let's leave that in there for a moment. That would be interesting, so let's leave that there. To actually make the piece doesn't take too long. It takes about 3 hours. The making the cuttlefish mold doesn't take too long, maybe about half an hour. So let's put over here cuttlefish 30 mins, so we know roughly for next time when I say we do more. So the cuttlefish takes about 30 mins per cuttlefish to do. The actual melting of the silver, when I only make one, it actually takes quite a long time. It takes me about half an hour to bring everything up to temperature, get it to a pouring stage, and actually pour it, which obviously then is, with the cuttlefish added on, we're up to an hour. The leather work actually takes a really long time. It actually takes anywhere between 1.5 to 2 hours to get the leather work ready, because you have to cut out your strap. I then have to thin one down, or skive one end of it down, so the bit that folds through the buckle and gets sewed to itself has actually had to be made thinner, and because I don't have the best tool in the world for that, that does actually take a really long time. You also have to round off the edges, or chamfer the edges, all the way around. You then have to stain it all, if you want to stain it, which I do, and then that takes a long time, and then you gotta wait for it to dry. You then have to burnish the edges as well, so that they're nice and smooth and round. I mean, you don't have to, but I do. And I must admit, I'm not even the best at doing all this, but it kind of matches my style. It all sort of a bit rough, and so that takes its time. And sewing leather takes quite a long time, because you can't just go at it with a needle like you would cotton. You actually have to punch the holes through it. Then you have to get another tool to make the holes a little bit bigger sometimes, and then you have to sort of sew with 2 needles at one time. Or you do if you saddle stitch. There is a different stitch, but I think saddle stitch is best. And so all in all, it takes about 3 hours to make that one piece. The finish time is not included here because I don't, for example, polish the cast. With that one, I didn't even have to sand off any sharp edges, so finish time or time to finish the piece is nothing. So to make this one piece, if you include the design time, is £169. So if I put this here, actually, let's go through this price plus here. What's this all about? Well, this is the cost it takes me to have made that one piece. So if I sell it at that, I can then make another piece, right? Well, yes, but the idea really would be nice to sell this piece and then be able to make 2 more. So ideally, I then have to make double this price. So I can, when I sell it, I can then make 2 more rather than just another one. And then after that, I can make 4 more. And then after that, I can make so on and so on. So if I doubled the price, boo! Ding 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 ding! £308.25 for that one buckle. That is a lot of money. And that's why I started to price these up. Because say I just wanted to add on half the amount. So I could say sell this piece, be able to make 1 more and then have a little bit left over, so that when I sold the next piece I'd be able to make 2, if that makes sense. So I'd be earning a little bit more, so I could save up, stash away, and then when I sold another one, yeah, be able to make 2 more, and then so on and so on. But even that's £253, which is a lot of money, but that's all because I added in this design time. If I take that design time out, making it back down to 0. Look at that. If I wanted to sell it for double the price, we are now looking at £88.15. Again, if I only did it with 50 more, £66. Getting to somewhere a bit more reasonable, right? I mean, £88 is, I feel, probably a lot of money for that. Even though it is bespoke, there's very few people who would probably pay this price. There's even less people who would pay this price for it. But there's probably few people who would pay this price for that. Even though there's none other in the world like it. I can't say I've seen anything similar made all in one piece. It'd be nice if everybody did think it cost this much. However, I think this is probably more, anywhere around, more doable price. For instance, if I only put 25% on, I'd then have to sell 4 of them before I could then make an extra one, because I'd save this extra little money, this extra £11 each time, and after I sold 4, I could then have enough money to make 2. But for an extra £11 on top, I'd only have to sell 2 before I could make another one. And I don't think £66 is too bad for something that is truly unique and nobody else will have in the world. And so I would probably, what I would then probably do, because I think a lot of people might still think that, I may split the difference between 30% and 50%. So if we look at what 40% would be, let's put equals this price times 1.4, which is adding 40% on top. £61.71 for a 40% increase over the actual cost, which is a lot better obviously than 338, still a lot better than 88. And so I feel like that's a nice price, and that's probably the price I will put this buckle up for. And hopefully me going through all this makes you understand how I arrived at this price. However, I did mention in the intro batch production a little bit, and what did I mean by that? For instance, when I made my earrings, I made several pairs, and the time taken to make it doesn't actually increase. Say I made 10 of these buckles, it wouldn't take me 30 hours to make it. So let's say I make 10 of these buckles, and this is a sort of a problem I have at the moment as well. I don't have the upfront cost or the upfront money to pay to make 10, so I kind of have to make one, try and save the money until I can start making, you know, little runs of these things, sort of little collections. So if I'm managed to make, so this is say this is just making one. So if I made 10 at 40%, so we need to put 6171 because that one's going to change. This one's 71. So that's for 1. This is for 10 because actually that price under here will change because I've got it all worked out. So let's delete that and delete that. So let's make, say I managed to make 10, and hopefully you'll see a difference. So obviously the cost of the materials would go up. Obviously this would be now £60 and 60 pence, and leather would be £5. This obviously £65 and 60 pence. So if I'm making 10, to make all the molds out of the cuttlefish would take 5 hours. So if I made 10, to make all the cuttlefish molds would take 5 hours. So let's put a 5 here. Keep it in our mind. If I made the straps, because then I could then cut out 10 straps in one go, stain them all in one go, I could probably work through the straps, I reckon, in about 4 hours. So let's say 4. And that's about it, to be honest. To carve the cuttlefish. The pouring as well, actually, I reckon I could get through in a couple of hours. That's what I forgot. I'd say only 2, whereas I said before it took me half an hour to get through 1. Well, after I've got everything up to temperature, because I work in the in my shed, I have to get the ambient temperature up, all that. But once that's happened for the first one, so the first one would probably take half an hour, but then after that, I just have to add more silver into my crucible, keep heating it up. I don't think it would take another half an hour to keep heating up each one after the temperature's already up to scratch. And so I think that would cut down the time massively. And so we are looking at 11 hours here. So obviously it doesn't take 30 hours if I make 10, it only takes 11. So if we put in 11, £137 for that, plus the material cost to begin with, you're looking to make 10, you're looking at about £203. Not bad, huh? And so let's look to see what that does when I change this. Whoops. So we made 10. Yeah, as you can see, a very big difference here. So when I made one, and it took me 3 hours, and I priced it up 40% more, it costs £61.71, which I think it is worth. However, obviously, if I can start making little runs, I can sell things for a bit cheaper, say 40% there. It's only £28 because I've saved so much time because I can make several in one go. You save all those all those hourly wages adding up. So, for instance, as you can see here, if I double the price of each one, it's still cheaper than just making one on its own, and then I would be able to make 2 for every one I sold. And this is a much better price. I just thought it'd be interesting to show how the price differs when you can do mini batches almost. Obviously, if I make 100, it's even quicker. So obviously I wouldn't take 11 hours to make 100, but I wouldn't take 110 hours. Say it took me 90 hours to make 100. There's 90, but let's add another naught. So, but this is where it might get a bit expensive, because we're spending £606 and £50 on leather material cost. We are now looking at 656, but we have made 100. As you can see, it got even cheaper. Not by much more, but then I didn't really work this bit out. It could be even quicker, so let's say even took me 70 hours. As you can see, things get even cheaper the more you make. I'm kind of got a bit of a small numbers problem, but with your support, and hopefully when I get noticed a bit more, I can start, sort of making more money, which means I can then start making more, which in turn then makes everything a little bit cheaper. So I hope that worked. I hope you followed that bit and understood it, and hopefully I didn't bore you. And hopefully you still think that one is worth quite a lot, because I know a lot of people would charge more than double the price. They'd probably charge triple or even more. And so you'd be looking, say we go back to my original one, say we did a 200% increase, so triple the price. So we need to equal that times 3, £132. Again, there would be people who would pay this for my piece. However, unluckily, I haven't found them yet. If you know where they are, let me know.
because I will go and knock on their doors or phone them up or send them a message being like, hey, have you seen this thing I've made? It's only £130 only. And I still think, really, the amount of work that goes into it, etc, etc, it could be worth this. Hopefully I can now show you how much the living wage, because I said I was going to show you, because I said I was charging £10 an hour, so what if I started to charge £7.20, which is the living wage coming into effect in April in England. So it goes from 61.71 to 49.95. Let's put living wage up here. Living wage. This was 10 per hour. Now let's see £25 per hour. We are now looking at 124.71, and that's a hike of 40%, remember. If I go back to living wage actually, which is £7.20, dumb. And so this, hopefully, obviously this one is double this. And so hopefully seeing this, the living wage, the £10 an hour and £25 per hour wage, shows you the difference in the price of just one piece. Obviously that's equaled out a bit more if you do make more, but I won't go through that again. And so hopefully this makes more sense why I don't charge the living wage as well, because as well I didn't put in the design piece, so I don't feel so bad about charging a bit more for my time. You do put a lot of effort into making these things, and I just really want people to sort of understand that by this spreadsheet I've made. Obviously I'm not charging this. I'd like to be able to charge this, but I don't think that's a viable option for me right now. Maybe if I get more well known, I can just be like, haha, you want my stuff, I can charge this. But nope, let's get rid of you. Like I say, I still think this is a good price for something that's really unique, bespoke, one of a kind, because this is only the 40% markup. I'm kind of underselling myself, and I should be selling for it for £88 or £132. Yeah, hopefully that sums it up for you. Hopefully that clears up how something can be priced for you, and you understand that the time that goes into it, the tools you have to use, the wear on them, the consumables you have to use, the price of the raw materials themselves, how many you make, all that is a factor. And yeah, hopefully you now understand why bespoke pieces cost so much more. Hopefully you don't think this is too much. Hopefully I've shown you and made you realize that a piece like this is worth that much. If you don't, I guess you don't have to buy it. If you do, it will be on Etsy. I'll put the link in the description below, and you can go ahead and grab yourself a bespoke piece of jewellery for...
Hopefully that gave you an insight to how things are priced, how especially sort of bespoke pieces of jewellery, how the price can be calculated. Hopefully you think it's worth it after I've showed you this video. A lot of people don't seem to realize the amount of thought that goes into things, which is also why I make these videos, to show you how much sort of backstory goes into pieces. Obviously I could have made it much more expensive, added in like the hours and hours of designing I've been doing, but I didn't, so not too bad. But yeah, hopefully it gave you an insight into it. You think it's worth it. I always think it is, because I guess I'm a bit biased because I am the one making it, but if you have something that's truly unique, nobody else in the world has it, and I think that's worth paying a bit more for. So hopefully you do too. Hopefully this was an interesting video for you. This piece will be up for sale on my Etsy page, so the link to my Etsy should be in the description down below for you to go and check out, and some of my other pieces if you wish to buy them. And hopefully you will now look at the prices with a bit more understanding, let's say. So hopefully I didn't scare you off with that, and you now are a bit more knowledgeable about the pricing of bespoke jewellery. Anywho, to keep this video short, I will leave it there, and I hope to see you next time. Sparks out. So I've been doing a few tests on the design of my bracelet for my buckles. I really wish I could make like 10 of these at a time.